share my screen, and we going to make it happen. All right, I'm sharing my screen. Can you guys see it? Thank you, Ken. I think there's a thumb up. Craig, can you see the screen?
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Welcome this morning to the Black Gold Nation Cinematic Connections for Revolutionary Change, our bi-weekly movie review. This is at least we hope it will be, an engaging, enlightening, and entertaining assessment of movies as it relates to the forward progress of Black people in America, Africa, and the diaspora. What is the Black Gold Nation movement? The Black Gold Nation movement is an international organization that seeks to liberate and save Black people by establishing our own towns/cities, whereby we control the environment to make our people bigger, better, and stronger. It is the belief of the members, supporters, leaders in this organization that if we do not control our space, we lose, period. If we do not control any aspect of that space, any system within that space that we do not control, we will always find ourselves on the bottom of that space. So if other people control the spiritual system, the education system, the economic system, the security system, the agricultural system, the political system, any system that other people control in the space where we live, we always find ourselves on the bottom of that space. So since we no longer want to be on the bottom, since we no longer want to keep losing, it is our belief that we absolutely must control the space where we live as much as possible, as well as every system that makes that space possible. Why we came to be, based on the understandings, teachings, practices, and strategies of past and current organizations that our leadership, the Black Gold Nation Movement's leadership, has lived, studied, and or taught, and the need to continue doing. We build upon the successes, minus the mistakes, to provide our people solutions that work now, to implement a 100-year plan to build power. So we believe that all of those righteous leaders that we've had, all of our righteous movements that have come and gone, we believe that they were trying to do a very righteous and necessary thing, but none of them were able to complete that righteous work for whatever reason. That means it is on us, those of us who are alive and well in 2021 moving forward, to pick up the baton and run our leg of the race as best we can. But we cannot do that if we don't understand the race. We cannot do that if we don't understand the event. We can't do that if we aren't properly training to run our leg of the race, which is why the movie reviews are so important. So we can understand, specifically this movie review, or this series of movie reviews, so we can understand how the race is won, understand how the game is played, understand how the system works. If we don't understand these things, then of course we will never win. We believe that we absolutely must do this so we can give our people solutions that work now, today, to implement a plan and a strategy to build power 100 years out. And most importantly, we have to train our children to understand that this whole thing is about power. So we can give them our plan to build power for 100 years so that they can add their plan to build power for 100 years so that as a people, we are no longer behind the 8 ball, but we're in front of it because we're planning for 100 years out with every generation that's born on the planet. So with that, again, thank you guys for being a part of the movie review this morning. I'm going to turn this thing over to Brother Craig Lee, who's going to lay it out for us. Brother Craig, it's on you.
Good morning. Good morning. Hopefully everybody is doing well. I have a funeral later on to go to. Had one this morning for 10, but I won't be able to make that. So I'll just stop by there a little bit later on. So with that, I got to just tell you, man, this fifth and final episode of Plutocracy really, really brought it home in terms of tying in everything that we discussed, especially on this past Thursday night, about our Black organizations in the past, especially the Black Panthers and some of the other more so-called radical Black organizations, how they were influenced by communism and socialism and why they really rolled that way. So without further ado, I always start these discussions. I want to get a perspective from each person on the call as relates to what they thought about the film.
Well, look, I'll just say that I did watch it this time, but I watched it so long ago now. And I didn't remember we were doing this until like just a couple minutes ago. But I did watch it though. I did watch it.
You watch part 5?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool.
Yeah, but I watched it like 2 weeks ago, and honestly, I need to start taking better notes.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because it's deep. It's most certainly
Yeah.
deep. So do you remember anything from what you saw that you?
No, it kind of all runs together because really the last like 2 or 3, I think I watched them like in one sitting.
Mm-hmm.
So,
oh, really? Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
okay.
I just knocked it out. But yeah, I'm sorry. I should have taken it.
Man, that was a 6-hour trek. Okay, well, congrats on that. All right, Siddharth, you want to give your feedback if you can? I know you're in the gym.
Yeah, no, I'm in the car, but
okay.
Similar situation. I watched it a few weeks ago, I think now, or maybe last week, and I don't remember all the details. I mean, I know it's like it's in the same vein, and I remember there being some pivotal parts of it that were like, oh, wow, okay, but if you held a gun in my head, I couldn't tell you what they are right now. So I'm just looking forward to what you guys got to say.
Cool. Brother Ken, you want to go or you want me to go?
Just give a quick one. I actually left. I put notes running Brother Craig, so got to be on time. But it's powerful. I mean, it really kind of. I like the way that each segment that we watch is interlaces with the next. They kind of go back.
Yep.
And overlap and bring it back and bring it a little bit more forward. So they drag you a little bit further down into the hole to let you know what's going on and everything ties together. And like the comment was made when you and Brother Craig were talking, it gives you more of an appreciation on the different movements and what they actually had going against them and give you a better insight. Because I've had these these documentations for documentaries for quite some time now, and I've had to, spread it over about first 2 or 3 for quite some time, and then the last 2 came along actually in more recent times. But 5 is one that I kind of like binge watched the last 2, like the sister did, and was able to kind of go back and review 5 to quite a bit because I like to take extensive notes. But it's something that almost to be a required reading for people who have any desire to do any kind of movement,
yep.
or anything for any kind of empowerment of Black people.
Yep.
Because it doesn't miss a beat. It really does, and it's just been tied in with everything that I've been exposed to this week. The talk show with Craig and Judge Brown. That was I'm still putting my socks on after that. So, and even from the segment of the Revolutionary Code. I mean, everything is talking about the same thing. And actually, what this does is actually push the detonation button on the bomb at the total, because it's just, I mean, you almost can't put it in the word because of how it defines what we're actually up against.
Amen. Amen. I was telling Brother Craig that I was going to save my revelation for this part of the review. The same way I have learned that tribalism has gotten us into a lot of trouble. I've also learned that tribalism is what's going to get us out of it. It just has to be the right tribe. The same thing with this Plutocracy series. Government is our worst enemy, but government is what's going to save us if we are running that aspect of the government. As I'm watching the end of part 5 and I see all of the labor movements and the strikes and the organizing that's still going on today, you know, the rich, the 1% are still trying to exploit as much as possible the workers, and the workers are doing the very best they can to fight back, organize, and get their fair share. If that worker population is not led with the 6 pillars, then it's going to be unsuccessful. So everything, like you just said, Brother Ken, what we discussed via the Revolutionary Code, what we discuss in the movie reviews, and our overall strategy to completely change how our people understand and play this game, it's imperative, brother. And like we said on Thursday, if you know, we can, and we can go through our movements and look at what they got right, what we can learn from them, and specifically where they fell or where they started to fall short. And those 6 pillars are right in there. So this thing was eye-opening to me at the end. You know, government is an MFer, but you have to have government to protect you from the larger government that's the MFer, because at some point they are going to call the National Guard. If they don't like what you're doing, at some point they're gonna call their boys. And if you don't have a squad that you can call, or if you don't have some hashtag ninjas that can pay somebody a visit, look, man, if you harm one of ours, I guarantee you 3 or 4 of yours are gonna disappear. And I don't give a F. You know, it ain't gonna work. So it was eye-opening to me that our greatest enemy really must become our greatest weapon. Otherwise, you don't have a snowball's chance in hell. And really quickly, Sister Mary, I love your shirt because I am very pro brother. I appreciate it. All right, I'm done, Brother Craig. Go ahead.
All of you guys, I want to again thank you for participating. I will say for Sister Mary and Sister Tara, I strongly suggest that you go back, watch each episode, and take detailed notes, because what these series of films under the name of Plutocracy, what it lays the foundation for is for you to understand everything that is the macro construct of everything that has been going on in this world for the last 600-700 years. And if you don't thoroughly have a grasp of this, any thoughts that you have of undoing this, you're just going to go around in a circle. Because like I said, after seeing this one, but all of them together, but definitely this one, since we have been talking about the influence of Karl Marx, Lenin, Stalin, Trotsky on the Black Panther Party, on Angela Davis, on a lot of entities like Assata Shakur. I got to give them even more compassion than I had before, because ain't nowhere in hell they would understand this shit. It's not. It's just, it would be impossible. Because none of them had ever been exposed to corporate America. None of them were entrepreneurs, okay? Although Bobby Seale came out of an entrepreneurial family, none of them were entrepreneurs. And so all they saw was the big bad white monster called capitalism. And they never investigated enough about capitalism. And in this film, to my point of the creator enlightening me to look inside of capitalism, in this particular film, it's brought out that they started to use the term free enterprise. See, because that's not what capitalism really is. So, but they use that concept, and that's an Afrocentric concept that we created. So I get why the Panthers and none of the other people understood the game. And so as we go through this, man, I do have to give them a little bit more compassion. And the fact that they came before us, along with all of these other white folks, because the other thing I will say, no matter how racist these white folks were in the unions, I got to take my hat off to them because they punked asses and not stop that. They didn't stop. Most of what happened to white folks, because Negroes, for the most part, were excluded from these unions, with the exception of the IWW, and then the CIO, which came on the heels of the IWW union. Most of these unions were majority white, all white in most instances. And to see episode after episode of the government, local, state, federal, busting caps in their own white folks' asses, hey, bro, you better understand. You better understand what you're dealing with
That's
with
right.
these white folks. Because I can assure you, the Black Panther Party and the BLA didn't understand it. The Weathermen may have had a better perspective, but none of them had a solution other than communism, socialism, Marxism, and none of the isms will save Black folks. Because all of the isms, guess who all of the isms are controlled by? White people. Folks.
Yeah.
And their nature, which lacks spirituality and right culture, their nature is always gonna put a foot in our ass. I don't give a damn what system it is. You can go to Cuba right now, and goddamn it, the dark-skinned, melanated people are on the bottom in Cuba. Yep. The light-skinned, goddamn it, Cubans are on top. I don't give a damn what system you go to. None of this shit works, period. And we can play around with it, but there is a solution, and we'll get to that. So I had to say that before we jump into this. So we got the first thing, August 5. The film starts out with this cat from Europe who came here, August 5, S-P-I-E-S. So I got him pulled up right now, August Vincent Theodore Spies. And that's the other beautiful thing about this documentary. You can go research every goddamn thing they put in the documentary.
That's right.
I mean, it's all there, okay? But hence why you need to take good notes. But he was an American anarchist and labor organizer. The internet says radical labor activist, which is true, because he's about that life. And his ass was hanged in 1887. And he was all about a concept that, was passed on throughout each one of these episodes called propaganda of the deed and the single spark theory. I get it that they really believe by sacrificing, they're willing to sacrifice their lives
with one spark, they really thought that they would ignite a mass revolution of people throughout the goddamn world and to go against the plutocrats. But when you break down human behavior, man, people scared to die.
Yep.
Peter Tosh, Bob Marley's former co-mate with the Wailers, Peter Tosh said in one of his songs, everybody wants to go to heaven, but none of them want to die. Follower of Jesus. Everybody want to go to heaven, but don't nobody want to pay that price. So now we know we gonna die. You know, just like I gotta go to the funeral today, Brother Ken's former co-worker, who is one of my classmates' mom, her funeral is at 10, but Sister Dorothy Murray, she didn't know when she was gonna die, the time she was gonna die. Last week when I was in Houston, my little play brother, Dante Smallwood, didn't know what time he was gonna die, when he was gonna die. But last Sunday he went to sleep, last Saturday, and he didn't wake up. So we don't know. So you're gonna die. The question is, how you gonna die? Are you gonna die on your knees as a goddamn slave, or are you gonna die as a revolutionary? Are you gonna die understanding finally what this goddamn game is? So August Spies was willing to pay the price. As a lot of these cats were willing to pay the price, but they were very idealistic, and it's kind of unfair because this is a gangster game. It's a game. So they understood that at some point you got to engage with physical conflict, but the idealism of believing that all these people were going to stand up and be willing to sacrifice their lives, you know, it just wasn't going to happen. And then when they were willing to do that, they were met with resistance. And we're going to go through and show you how gangster this thing is. And the other thing I like about this film, before I get to the other point, the first 6, 7 to 10 minutes of each film, that intro is so good.
Right.
They could really stop with the goddamn intro, but they go on to break it all down. The next big point that was brought out in the film was called the Magna Carta of the American labor movement. And what was this? This is 1935, after decades of violent conflict between workers and employers, President Franklin Delano Roosevelt signed into law the National Labor Relations Act. And so I put down here, I got to study this law because that's still in place now. But this gave the workers the right to form unions, boycott, picket, etc. And now you say, well, damn, FDR did a great thing. It wasn't nothing but bullshit. Right? Yep. He just did that to pacify the workers and believing that they were going to back up. Because in one of the earlier episodes, what did we learn about this government? It is a government of what?
Corporations.
By who?
Corporations. For corporations. Corporations.
Okay.
Yeah, and FDR only did that because he was trying to win the election. So he was not motivated by any principle to do good. He was trying to win the election.
So you gotta, and so what's so ironic about us going through this right now on March 6, 2021, right now, the Green New Deal is being discussed and negotiated, debated in Congress. And the initial New Deal started with this white boy here, FDR. And this film gets into it. So the game is serious, dog. And we're gonna get into some of the gangster rhetoric that Biden sold all these Negroes and Latinos. He's already put a foot in there. Because there ain't going to be no damn minimum wage increase because this is a government of what?
Corporations.
By?
Corporations.
Or?
Corporations.
So if you don't get that, this has always been how this works, and get off your ass and mobilize and organize and start what?
Corporation.
For who?
Corporations.
But no, for grassroots people.
For the people.
You gonna constantly get played in this game. I can kind of understand the path that they couldn't see how they could form cooperatives to launch corporations. But now you ain't got no goddamn. You ain't got no goddamn. So if you still are trying to force Elon Musk, what's his name, Bill Gates, Mike Dell, the Walton family, if you still believe you're gonna force them to do the right goddamn thing, you're gonna force them to keep on digging deeper into their intellect so they can figure out more creative ways to trick your punk ass.
Their intellect and their economic resources and capital, which they're going to do.
They gonna do it.
Yeah.
So this is where it's at. I have here most constitutional rights in America end at the company door. Because this is a government of what?
Corporations.
By who?
Corporations.
For who?
Corporations.
Y'all better understand this now. And I don't give a damn if the corporation is for profit or non-profit. That's what the game is. So if you want to win this game, the 6 pillars of empowerment are the only way that you're going to be able to win this game. But you at best focus on creating for-profit and non-profit corporations because these gangsters ain't going to do a goddamn thing but keep on playing and pimping your ass.
And you know, Brother Craig, that's what's unfortunate about our people is that we don't want to learn. Instead of learning how to win, we'd rather get caught up in the romance of those we thought were winning, who obviously were not, because they ain't here no more. Or if they're here, what they got? Yeah. What they doing?
Hey man, this thing here, gangster, man.
Yeah, we got issues, man.
All right, so I have your plutocrats made it where workers had no right, no freedom of speech, assembly, no lobby against poor wages and working conditions. That's how gangster it is. Because they like, if you ain't smart enough to figure out how to get out of this shit,
you deserve to be exploited.
and they don't give a damn what color you are or what your ethnicity is. They do this shit throughout the world, and then they connect throughout the world to put a foot in your ass. Entities used, there were entities used to stop labor advocates. The entities used to stop the labor advocates, the strikes, the revolts, the rebellions. They used the goddamn police. They used the goddamn sheriff. They used the marshal, state police, private detective agencies, vigilantes, National Guard, and the goddamn military.
By any means necessary.
So when they say any means necessary, they mean that.
Hell yeah.
And back then, they had just created the first alphabet group, the FBI. But now you got a lot of alphabet groups, Captain.
Mm-hmm.
CIA, FBI, NSA, DEA, Secret Service. Listen, man, listen. Stop. Anybody try to recruit you to get in some kind of goddamn militia, hey, man, all I can tell you, enter at your own damn risk. Because if you believe you're going to take up a few guns to deal with these cats, depending on how they see you is the level that they're gonna respond to your
That's
ass
right.
with.
And when they respond.
And right now, first and foremost, you ain't gonna be able to get no serious artillery to deal with their ass any goddamn way.
Right. Because you got to buy your bullets from them.
They're tracking your every movement of the bullet and the weapon. They can shoot your punk ass from space. They got guns that they can shoot the damn gun from 2 miles away, and that shit can curve around the goddamn building and hit your punk ass while you hiding behind the goddamn. They got infrared technology. They got drones that can hit your ass from 100 miles away, and you never even see what's going on. So for our people, especially, and Tamani sent me something about the NFAC, the goddamn not fucking around crew. Bro, it's just sad, man, that these people still, all these years later, 50 goddamn 5 years later, are being manipulated with foolishness. The reality. The next point, I got to research, and y'all need to research the Great Upheaval of 1877, where the National Guard came in to crush labor demonstrations in dozens of cities. See, this ain't nothing new. In 1877, which is 12 years after slavery, what was going on with our black ass? We were on the tail end of what?
We're on what?
In 1877, what was going on with us while the government used the National Guard to come in to crush the labor demonstrations in dozens of cities. What was going on with black people in 1877?
Reconstruction? Were we establishing our own towns and cities, doing our own thing? And that's another thing that was interesting to me, Craig. It's like, while all this stuff is going on, black people at that time were saying, we gonna build our stuff. That's what y'all do. Y'all do what y'all do, because we can't affect that anyway. We gonna build some stuff over here. And we did it. We goddamn me building cities and businesses while they try to force white folks, and we ain't figured out the game since then. Okay? So that's something that we need to focus on, the Great Upheaval of 1877. Next point, research the Homestead Strike of 1892. This is where workers defeated the Pinkerton Detective Agency, and I mean, they had got busy with them, throw their ass out the frame. But the goddamn government called it a national. Pick up the bat phone. We need reinforcements.
And now a lot of the guys who helped them fight, they were formerly in the military. So now they stupid ass like, well, no matter what, we ain't gonna shoot because he's our brother. I ain't no goddamn brothers. They coming to bust a cap in your goddamn ass.
That's right.
And so that's something that we need to focus on, the Homestead Strike. That was mentioned in a few of the earlier episodes. And like Ken said, I think Jamani said, I like how they loop everything back and forth because it all connects.
Yeah.
No matter what episode. And also I have here, the Panthers just did not understand, because when you understand in 1892, if they were willing to do this to their own white boys, what the hell you think they were gonna do to our ass? Next, we gotta research the Battle of Blair Mountain of 1921, where the coal miners had got busy and hell, Warren G. Harding calling them goddamn the military troops on their ass, and they had to surrender. So all this is documented. The IWW, the Industrial Workers of the World Labor Union, was all but destroyed. The leaders were jailed, deported, or killed, which killed the leadership, the union, and the will. But this is where I got to give it to the white folks. They didn't stop. They kept on going. They kept on going. And you'll see in this 5th episode what finally put a foot in their ass, and it was just a different way of dominating them. In 1929, economists estimated that $2,500 was the required minimum income to take care of a family. Yet, more than 60% of American families earn less than $2,000 per year. Over 40% earn less than $1,500 annually. And I want you to keep that 60% in your mind, because that's going to come up later on as we're summing this up. Productivity and profits increased during this time in the iron, steel industry, auto industry, rubber industry, but poverty increased as well. I wonder why. Plutocrats say, thank you very much for that productivity, but he ain't getting no extra goddamn shit. So FDR approved the union legislation in 1935. After this happened, the damn workers now said, bump the goddamn unionization. We're now going to use the union to fight for what? Industrial democracy. Because they were believing that America was a democracy, a government of the people, for the people, by the people. But they learned that this is government of what?
Corporations.
For?
Corporations.
By?
Corporations.
All right. Y'all better learn that, man. What you see on that paper for the United States is not what it is.
Right.
So now we get into the Ford hunger mark. But I thought Ford was a good guy. I thought Henry Ford was Henry Ford. Yeah, okay. We're gonna see. So I have here the government at all levels uses violence to intimidate and control workers. Now they don't really do the violence anymore, but they got a whole bunch of other ways to control your ass now. So here's where the game really, really starts. They get the workers, all of the American workers, to buy into the stock market. So in 1928, the stock market was at an all-time high. And I'm gonna find the documentary on what really went down. But when they say the stock market crashed October 29th, 1929, and you already know what they call that day, right? It was a Tuesday. Y'all know what they call that day, right? Black.
Oh, Black Tuesday, yeah. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, you know, Negroes, goddamn black. Oof, devastating. But what really happened is not what they say happened. But there's a documentary on that, and it's gangster. The plutocrats played them yet again. But the stock market crashed, and regular people, this is why if you can't afford something, don't get it. If you can't afford something, don't get it.
You can't pay cash for it.
Yeah, especially in this game.
Yep.
So regular people bought stocks on margin. And when you buy stocks on margin, you pay a portion of whatever. Let's say you want 10,000 stocks, and this was going to cost 10,000 shares of stock, and this was going to cost you 10,000. You may pay upfront 1,000, and the 9,000 you float basically a loan is called the margin. It's like the short-term loan, and the whole premise is you're banking on the profits and the productivity and the great gee goo goo gaga of the corporation elevated. But guess what? If the goddamn corporation is not successful, now you're on the hook for $9,000 that you ain't got. So they suckered you into rolling with all this shit. So the corporations, in essence, to not share the money with all of the shareholders, they pretended that everything had, come to a screeching halt. So now everybody tried to go cash in their shares and they couldn't. So now the white folks called in, the plutocrats called in the margin. Of course, the people couldn't pay. So they took the shares and they started seizing property of individuals. Gangster gang, gangster. So this is where you get the Great Depression. And while and the film clearly shows all these broke ass white folks thicker than the mud, So, but guess what was going on? And this is 1929. Guess what was going on in various Black communities? We was rolling, goddammit. Remember, Tulsa, Oklahoma didn't happen until 1921.
Yep.
This was around the time of Rosewood, so a lot of things were going on. The crackers had been played by the white folks. So since they couldn't turn their attention to the people who really put a foot in their ass, who did they turn their attention?
Coloreds.
But we still want to believe we can love our good Christians. They're just like us. Oh, we love them. I don't hate nobody. I don't see color. Well, goddamn it, they see you.
They see you. And they are not colorblind.
And they saw you growing them big ass watermelons and we were thriving. And they were like, go back to the movie Rosewood. When Sylvester and them were getting ready, the white folks getting ready to come kill Sylvester and them, and they talking, the white, broke ass white folks talking outside, and they say, that nigger got a piano. I ain't even got a piano. And so one of the white boys say, but you don't even know how to play a piano. God damn it, that ain't.
Right.
I need a goddamn. But we still don't get that. We still believe we can be friends with every goddamn body. So now they hit on the fact that now the concept of bank robbery elevates. So now they focus on John Dillinger and all your gangsters. So now it makes sense. Bonnie and Clyde, Mar Barker, okay? So all this is like, hey, the gangsters like, if the corporation is gonna rob, well, goddamn it, we gonna rob they fucking.
That's right.
So that's why a lot of people celebrated them, not just because they were defiant, but because they saw themselves getting played and nobody else had the courage to stand up against them. So their thing was, hey, we'll go and rob banks. Now, what's so funny, in Louisiana, we got a town called Arcadia, Louisiana. They hated Bonnie and Clyde at first, throughout the country. But that's where they were killed, in Arcadia. So guess what Arcadia does now? Bonnie and Clyde tourism. Goddamn capitalism, cold-blooded.
It's gonna find a way. It's gonna find a way to make $1.
Money. But that's right down the road from Shreveport. So that's something that we need to look at. So the next thing, we talked about the Ford Hunger March. So this was where former Ford plant workers, while they're going through the Great Depression, they wanted food. So they organized a march to the River Rouge plant, Ford plant. And so what did Henry Ford do? He mobilized his private militia. And what did the private militia do? They bust caps in white folks' heads. And he killed somebody. And so now, as this is going on, this is where now the New Deal from FDR is brought to the table. Franklin Delano Roosevelt referenced saving capitalism from itself. And now You have to go back to, I think it was the last episode 4 or 3, where now he was being confronted by a Louisiana politician by the name of Huey Long. That's where Huey P. Newton gets his name from, our former governor called the Kingfish. You got to go back and now see how they assassinated Huey P. Long because they didn't want him competing against FDR. And the only reason FDR came up with this, along with all of his plutocrats, is because they feared Huey P. Long. So you got to go back to the other episodes to check that out. But all of this stuff connects. And that's what's so beautiful about this film. I'm talking about they connect every goddamn thing. And it's beautiful. I say they connected the dots to all the labor strikes in the country in 1934. And I'm saying the film, because 1934 was a big year for labor strikes in the United States. Now technology, industrialization, technology begins to replace work. And you always had a division between the skilled and the unskilled labor, craft unions, and I definitely, after I finish up one, tend to hit on that because he's been in a union. Craft union versus skilled workers union and skilled workers union, that was the American Federation of Labor. And they didn't want anything to do with the industrial unions that focused on bringing in our people, because most of our people work in the agriculture industry and of course the domestic industry. And so again, those white unions really weren't wanting to be focused on our people. And so the CIO, which kind of came out of the IWW, the CIO is the Congress of Industrialization Organization. They formed and they were open to having Black workers, but the AFL did not want to join forces with the CIO. And so that's where you have the disconnect. So the CIO begins to do some things. Black labor wages rose significantly. And so they were tied to the union. But simultaneously, this is where communism starts to really rise in America. So again, this is why I'm like, okay, I can have a little bit more compassion for the Black Panthers and all of these other groups, because this was going on 30 years before they came on to the scene. 30 something years, almost 40 years. Because most of these guys, like Bobby Seale and whatnot, they were born in the 40s. So this was going on in the early 30s. So the Workers' Party became the Communist Party. So this was another union, and they started to link up. And I get it, because they didn't see no other way. They really didn't see any other way. So now you start to get into Marxism, Leninism, Stalin. Then they had beef going on with them versus Trotsky and communism. And so,
hey Craig, I got a question. Can you think of, or are you aware of any system then that they could have looked at that would have given them a better roadmap or strategy? Like, was there something out there that they could have pointed to and said, we're going to do that because that seems to be working for the people?
Well, free enterprise was that, but they wouldn't have been able to see it.
Right, there was no example of it.
Well, we had it in terms of the Black Township.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't be able to see it on a major way national. You can only see it at the local level.
Yeah. And see, go ahead.
So the answer to that question, I don't know of a system that they would have been able to see other than the micro element of free enterprise from our own people. I don't know of another.
Yeah, and that's where I'm kind of stuck on giving them, I don't want to say a pass, but it doesn't seem as intelligent and educated as most of them were. It doesn't seem that they ever looked to Africa for answers.
No, they didn't.
And I don't know. I'm not sure if that's because of what you said. You know, where you get your money, who you sleep with, it determines your politics. If it was ABI, the acceptance of Black inferiority. But you know, if you give me 2 books to read, and I only read one because it has a white man on the cover, can you fault me for not reading? Is it my fault because I didn't read both books? It's my fault because I didn't read both books, although you gave me those books. So I don't know if we can give them a pass based on ignorance because they didn't know any better, because they didn't. It doesn't look like they cast a wide enough net to find the right answer. Am I making sense?
Yeah. So even if we go back to Africa during this particular time in the 30s and 40s, Africa, you know, was oppressed.
Yeah.
You know. So
yeah, and that's why I asked the question. Was an example.
So Ghana doesn't win its independence until the early 60s. So that's why I say I got compassion for them, man.
Yeah.
The Creator had them come along when they did for us to be helped. So I get it. I totally get it.
Okay.
But this is what makes it so disrespectful for our people now not to be in
no doubt.
Fight.
Yeah, no doubt.
Because, and these cats, regardless of the pros, cons of their position, man, these cats were willing to put it on the line. And there's a reason why your punk ass basically go to work for 5 days out the week.
Right.
There's a reason why they
right.
work day. There's a reason why you got, because going back to my other note, hell, when the Great Depression happened, follow me. There was no unemployment insurance. There was no unemployment program benefit. There was no Social Security program at the time. There was no welfare system at the time. And there were hardly any pension programs. So I just want you to think about that. Whether you be a racist cracker worker or a Black worker, bruh, all this stuff has to come about through legislation. And if the people weren't willing to agitate, fight, lobby, hell, everything you benefit from today, your punk ass wouldn't be benefit. And most of these people too taking shit to fight for little stuff today.
Yeah.
So punk ass would have been back then.
And there's a reason why your child don't have to work in a mine.
They was working children like a mug back in there.
That's right. That's right.
Man, look, you better pay respect even to them racist crackers who didn't want you in the union. They were willing to mount up and deal with the capitalists. But hey, but this is where communism starts to strongly influence the civil rights movement. Because they were getting money in, and so there's a lot that was really going on. So you can kind of see why J. Edgar Hoover would really go to the level that he went to, because the plutocrats had him in place to preserve what? Capitalism. So
which is why he was so willing to reach out to communist entities, because for him, perhaps he was protecting the capitalists at home and trying to establish international business by any means necessary.
Hey, bro, this thing is gangster.
Yeah.
So, but in 1928, the film discloses that the Communist Party pledged to struggle on behalf of the Negro workers. So don't think that the goddamn communists gave a goddamn about Negroes. Their job, their game was to defeat capitalism So they knew the weakest link in the game in America was also the strongest ally, which was us. We were weak because we were at the bottom. So we would be the easiest mark to fail in their political chess move against the United States. But again, our people didn't know these crackers were playing chess.
Yeah.
So that's what happened. So how did they start to influence us that they were for Black people? Now you get the Scottsboro boys case of 1931.
That's right.
This is brought up, and this is where 9 young Black teenage boys were accused of raping 2 white girls, and turned out they were prostitutes, and they were lying on them. But at the end of the day, this has been made out to be a movie. So that's something that you need to check out. But the Communist Party worked on behalf of those young Black males to advocate for their freedom. So this is how, that's why I say I now can see even better why the Black Panther Party thought they had a friend and a king, but they didn't know they was getting played simultaneously.
Yeah, and I can even see, you coupling that reality, that truth with the movie Trick Baby, with the banker. I can see how the intelligent melanated Black hybrid understands, in order for me to make this thing work for my people, for my position, I got to have some white, I won't say white allies, I'll say white puppets, white pawns. You got to have a white face in the right place so you can move your agenda forward. But it's a mistake to assume that at the end of the day, that white face is going to die or cut for you, because they may not. So I don't know if the Panthers understood that I got to use these white people, or they were saying these white people are our friends. Well, I think they learned at the end that white people didn't, like Elaine Brown said, where were you guys
Exactly.
when we were getting shot?
Exactly.
Where's the Rainbow Coalition?
Yeah, so that kind of told me that they did, even if they started out believing that they would, quote unquote, manipulate them for their good. You being around people, they give you money and you having sex with them, you're going to fall. You're going to fall for the okie doke.
Yeah. And you never set up your own revenue stream, which is, that really blows my mind that you never set up your own revenue stream.
Yeah, that's crazy. They never did. But around this time, you have the Alabama Sharecroppers Union. So Black folks were maneuvering as well. And the number one, the biggest one, the most powerful Black one at that time was the Brotherhood of Sleeping Car Porters Union.
Yeah.
That was A. Philip Randolph. So they had a lot of flexibility. So, and this was brought out in the film, and you just think about it now. Okay, they took extra disposable income and they helped fund the NAACP and these organizations.
That's right.
You got Negroes that sit up on millions of dollars and won't fund the goddamn thing.
Yep.
It's like an I my me type situation.
Yep.
So this is where Black Gold Nation and other legitimate grassroots entities, we got to be able to be entrepreneurs in order to begin the process of manipulating some of those dollars back in our fold. Again, the National Labor Relations Act was passed 1935, but guess what? It excluded agriculture and domestic service labor from protection. Over 50% of all Black workers worked in these industries, as well as Mexicans. And so this is the game of public policy. But today, Negroes don't even want to vote because they're so happy to have, welfare, Social Security, all these different things. And again, they don't even know how these programs came about.
And Craig, and that's what made, for me personally, that's what made this past Tuesday morning breakfast so important and eye-opening for me, because what you just said is what you were breaking down.
Yeah.
We can't do certain things if we don't have business because we don't have the tax base.
Yeah.
We can't expand the airport. We can't build jobs. We can't do this. We can't do that because you don't have enough businesses. So we don't have no tax base. And these people who think they are paying taxes are not, which is why we have, and when you said this to me, but I was shocked, unemployment at 35, 40%.
Yeah, that's Shreveport.
How the hell you gonna grow and build if you ain't got no money?
Yeah.
And then the talent pool is being pulled away to other places. Man, this shit is wow. Wow, it was telling. It really was.
And that's why I was saying to Money when we first connected, it wasn't that I was trying to rain on your perspective of going to all of these cities, but it's like, man, once you start to peel the layers back to this shit, I mean, just to maneuver in just a couple of cities with our Black gold infrastructure, even though we're building it, man, I mean, bruh, this thing is, it's taking 26 years, man, to figure, 20-something years to figure all this shit out, man. Because ain't no damn book on this shit.
That's right.
I didn't have no damn Plutocracy video.
Right.
Started in 1995 when I left corporate America. But the reason that I can resonate with all of this because I've done the work, so I understand it. So it's easy for me to dissect all of it. And so many times throughout the film, all I can do is smile because it's like, damn, the white folks talk.
Yeah, revelations. So have you personally learned anything new? You personally, Craig, from watching the documentaries? Or did you already know all of this? From a high level, of course.
No. I understand the macro aspect, but all these micro details, no, a lot of this stuff I didn't know.
Yeah.
And so helping me just solidify what I understand about the macro.
That's right.
Concept.
Yeah.
And so to learn all this shit, I'm like, damn, the Creator done blessed me.
That's right.
Because I understand the macro.
Yeah.
But now to see how all this shit really, whoa, man.
Yeah.
The origins of this shit, man.
Yeah.
Yo, man. Hey, man. So now it's like, okay, getting this shit at your own risk.
So let me ask you, Brother Craig, hey, Brother Ken, I've told Brother Craig that I do not envy him at all because he has the daunting task, the objective, the goal. He has to create the curriculum that re-educates our people for real. And if his ass gets hit by an ice cream truck tomorrow, then that shit falls on me, and goddamn it, I don't want to do it. So you know, it's like if we're going to win, then we absolutely must understand plutocracy. So my question is, Brother Craig, we talked about, I think we've said that the first book that we should be reading as we put this onboarding process together, how we bring new people in this thing, the first book should be Miseducation of the Negro, because it lays a good foundation as to where we are. Should we change that to be, no, you need to watch this documentary series first called Plutocracy and then read the book, because there's so much in there.
Now you got to read the book first because you got to understand how fucked up your mind is.
Okay.
So, see, because you're not going to be able to comprehend plutocracy if you don't unshackle your goddamn mind. Because that's the hardest thing to get, that this is.
Yeah.
And so, the book has to be first because you got to get people to be willing to learn, and they are unwilling to learn. Mary and I have talked, and she's going to be the editor for the publication that we're structuring, the Who's Who, because you got to be clever about how you go about leveraging resources.
Yeah.
You got talented people like Mary, and she's beautiful, and she's intelligent, and she's committed to grassroots people. Now she can be leveraged as the face of something where we can now generate millions of dollars to come back. They just didn't have the Panther. I mean, but I get it.
Yeah.
They just because they really, really believed that they were gonna do some stick-ups and shit. That's where these bank robberies and shit came from. Like,
that's right. Yeah, for real. Yeah, and you know it's also unfortunate that we believe, because we've been conditioned to believe, because we just don't know. You don't have to go commit a crime to generate revenue.
no, bro.
You know, there is no reason for you to jeopardize your freedom because you need some money. Motherfucker, start a business in your community where all your people at. You already, and that's why I'm so excited about the Power Program, because you don't have to do a market study or a business plan. You already know where we shop.
Yeah.
Just open a competing business and redirect the black foot traffic, and then you got yourself some revenue. And it's a lot of revenue.
Yeah, yeah. But it's like,
right.
Brother Money.
Yes, sir.
To the credibility of what Craig was saying about unlocking your mind. Did you get a chance to hear some of the or even to the end of the podcast yesterday?
I tried, brother, but I had to click off because there was so much back and forth and yelling and screaming. I got when they started to talk about Jesse Jackson, the balcony, the blood, the video, there was a lot of back and forth. So I clicked off, and I think in about 5 minutes I came back, but it had already ended.
Yeah, it frustrated me to a great degree. Here you have an elder brother who was on the case where King got assassinated. He was on the investigative force of trying to break down what happened. The people who were there, okay, and you had these individuals. Every time the brother broke down factual information, and even his greatest supposedly about the recording of what somebody was alluding to on a YouTube video, and we talk about that in our group all the time about these YouTube scholars. But this man is breaking down all the information that he knows, and these people are steadily talking. They're still hitting their bullet points of, but what about the airport that was shut down? He said the airport was not shut down.
Right.
Jesse Jackson was supposedly gotten out of the city and got back to Chicago on some military flight, and it was very highly possible that he just took a flight like anybody else would have. Because the first thing hit my mind was like, okay, King's dead. We're gonna shut down the airport. You know, that wasn't gonna happen. The president had gotten shot. You know. Sure.
Yeah, not for this nigga.
It probably left the airport open for people to come in and celebrate. You know,
and you know, Brother Ken, to your point, I was thinking, you know, when Judge Brown said he couldn't have been in the parking lot because there was a pool there.
Right.
So unless he's walking on water, and at some point, you know, that's when I started to say, okay, what are we trying to do here? Are we trying to be right, or are we trying to learn? Because I think the young people were just trying to be right and not listening to what he was saying.
And their only validation was what somebody said in a damn YouTube video.
Yeah.
And that frustrated me so bad. You know, I was sitting there just steaming. I said, well, they shut the hell up, let the man finish. It wouldn't even and even when he got his point across, they still sitting there, well, why? I still don't understand why people said this about Jesse. And we talk about COINTELPRO on here all the time, you know, and we would and everything we were talking about in the Revolutionary Code just the night before, and to put across to Brother Naru his concerns on people infiltrating. All of that came out, you know. It's been coming out all the time, and, which is why we stress spirituality so much. So I could keeping on point. I could see where we need to centrally get, like I say, number one, get the inside in our minds in track so that we can now absorb plutocracy. Yeah. Because plutocracy is so damn big. Yeah. And it's like man, I got to learn how to fish in this river and get the proper nutrition from the fish in this river, and then go to the lake and and then I can go out here and start messing with Moby Dick. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, but it's such a big task to take on, to know all of these things that are coming against you. I mean, it's big, man.
Right.
Yeah.
Big. Right. Okay. So Brother Craig, the Miseducation of the Negro, Plutocracy, then the Tocqueville's book, or Miseducation of the Negro, the Tocqueville's book, then Plutocracy.
No, I would say Miseducation of the Negro, then the
Plutocracy.
Then Plutocracy,
The Tocqueville.
and then Democracy in America. Yeah, those three things there will get you
Foundation.
Yeah, because then anything else that comes after it, whether it be from elevating on the cultural dynamic for us as people, spiritual, or even learning about Marxism, whatever we learn, those three things there will give us a good, solid starting.
It has to be filtered through all that stuff, because if you don't have those understandings, then you'll come out of left field. Yeah.
You know what? Because I think even if I had not been in corporate America at the levels that I was at, I don't even know if I would understand this stuff as good as I do. But having been exposed to that, then leaving that, then coming into the advocacy and the entrepreneurship, I get it.
Yeah.
You know, so that's, you know, my job is to try to help people get it.
Yep.
And whatnot. So yeah, but that's good. All right, so then they go to when they're talking about our people, they do a good spinoff and get into our Latino brothers and sisters and the contract labor game, which still goes on to this day. Captive labor force for Mexico, and they call them Versarios. And hey man, right after I saw that, I just had to put it, I had to underline this, Sister Mary. I said, these crackers are cold-blooded. I said they cold with this. So of course now we're in the Great New Deal, and so now money is being put out there for people to do things in their specialized fields, and arts is one of those fields some of the socialists and communists use to demonstrate the economic struggle of union workers against capitalism. And so they use theatrical plays. They were funded by the New Deal, and the actors dramatized the negative effects of capitalism. But yet again, I don't know why people believe, other than it's on paper, that they can just say and do whatever the fuck they want to do against this system, because this is a government of
corporations.
By
corporations.
Or
corporations.
Oh, goddamn it.
Well, we think and believe that because we've bought in the propaganda, goddamn it. We still believe that America is land of the free, home of the brave, do what the fuck you want to do. Excuse my French.
Exactly. Well, they ass got shut down a few years after getting started because they weren't going to allow them to use. So what? This is pretty much one of the earliest forms of what? Edutainment.
Yeah. Yeah.
And entertainment, which they wanted to distract people from their horrors. They wanted to edutain, and Charlie Chaplin was a part of this, and they weren't going to allow you to educate. So the corporation was going to have your ass shut down, and who they going to get to do it? The goddamn government.
Yep.
Okay. So they bring your ass to Capitol Hill, put your ass in jail, and it's a wrap. So now we get to where they start to have sit-down strikes or sit-in strikes, and the first one was done in 1933 because they had learned, now we ain't gonna be outside striking, we're gonna be inside.
That's right.
We're gonna turn everything up. So the first one was in 1933 at the Hormel production plant, and that ended up becoming a successful deal, and the female auxiliaries help feed striking male workers. So the females and the males work cohesively together. And so the Ford workers, when they struck against General Motors workers first, they did a strike against them. They implemented the tactical maneuvers that were implemented with the Hormel strike. And they were able to, after a long time, bring General Motors to their knees and well, should I say negotiation table. And Chrysler, then Ford, all of them were willing to sign labor contracts. But the big thing that I have to point out there, and I put it here, the willingness to struggle for industrial democracy, better wages, benefits, etc., is why there are better working conditions today.
Right.
But bro, they were willing to struggle. They were willing to struggle. If you go back to the Montgomery bus boycott or the Baton Rouge bus boycott,
yep,
people were willing to goddamn walk.
Yep, sacrifice, yeah.
You got to be willing to sacrifice. So pseudo-integration has gotten a lot of these people unwilling to make those sacrifices. So it's something that we have to consider whenever we're mobilizing. And that's why I always stress, other than the 6 pillars of empowerment, we have to be able to leverage the money, status, and materialism, because the people just ain't gonna move on principle alone.
That's right.
They just ain't gonna do it. They're spiritually bankrupt and they're culturally bankrupt, so they ain't gonna do it. Now, after these good things started to happen, now and I gotta go back and check out the 55-minute mark on for about another 5 minutes. But at the 55-minute mark, they start to talk about how the CIO stopped pressing for changes after the sit-down victory. And so this is where they begin to negotiate labor and management relations. So they move away from a lot of the direct action. And now what happened? The plutocrats influenced the Supreme Court to now make sit-down strikes illegal. So that's
as my mom.
Yeah.
So again, public policy is used on that particular level. So here we have now the federal government. Then what do? Since labor is now willing to be at the table with us, we gonna let them be at the table. We ain't gonna fight them no goddamn more. What we gonna do? We gonna co-opt their aid.
That's right.
We co-opt their aid. So now the film pivots to show that the last labor militancy came to a screeching halt on May 30th, Memorial Day, 1937, when the Republican Steel Company strike in Chicago. The Chicago police shot and tear gas striking workers. 50 people were shot, 10 of them died, and at least 100 were beaten with the billy club. So look here, bro, they let it be known. All this striking shit, that's over. Stay your punk ass back to work or get on.
Or else.
So here you got FDR using the legislation to help the unions in 35 so he could get elected. And now, 2 years later, it's like, hey, man, it is what it is. So they say FDR did not condemn the murder. He placed blame on both parties. And I got to research this because they said that FDR had 4 terms in office. So I don't know if he sat out and came back, because I don't think you were supposed to be able to run. I know you can't now run 4 successive terms. So he must have sat out and came back, but I got to check that out.
And you know, Brother Craig, on that point, who does that sound like? There's a clash. One side is obviously wrong. The other side is obviously righteous, but he's not going to condemn either side. He's going to say
they're all good people.
There are good people on both sides.
That's how you know Trump going through this, brother. The Democrats play their cards so beautifully with Trump, because we're gonna I'm gonna sum this up at the end with the definition of fascism. Mm. So they created the illusion that Trump was a fascist to now lock their ass back into the Democratic Party. Man, this shit's so gangster. It's beautiful, man. I ain't gonna lie to you. But now FDR pushed for a second Bill of Rights. You know, yeah, you gotta have a good job. You're supposed to be able to determine your destiny. All this bullshit. And people ate it up, you know, again. But now he was saying that because guess what he knows about that?
War.
So the plutocrats created World War II in part to stimulate the economy. They said the plutocrats used the media to spread false propaganda to manipulate the public to roll with World War II.
Wait, they didn't create World War II. They did that to get Americans involved in World War II.
Well, all of this is a part of the overall dynamic. All wars are created by the ruling class. Ain't no war. War don't just happen.
Right.
So there are forces that create war. So the plutocrats create the war in order to stimulate the economy. That's what the fuck happened.
Okay, I can dig that, but Hitler was not a plutocrat.
No, this is World War II.
Right.
This is Japan.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm thinking World War I. Okay, I got you. All right. I got you. I'm with you.
So they create this, because this is where your internment camps come in.
Sure.
In the United States, this is where they had to end up negotiating with them to now give them reparations.
I got you.
Several years ago.
Got you.
So they created this, because remember now, you got the Great Depression, you got all these things going on. So now what ends up happening, you end up got to stimulate the economy. Mm-hmm. So there's a part where they the guy who was connected to FDR, he's like, how you know all this about to happen? We about to go to war.
That's right.
Yeah. They created war, bro. See?
I got you.
Now World War I, Hitler got out of pocket.
Right.
So the forces, the plutocrats, had to shut his ass down. And because you're not gonna usurp our shit just so one can, to put your dominance there. But when they want to create war, they create war.
That's right.
And that's one of these situations here.
Yeah, and war is very profitable. Yeah.
Because Germany was at fear that also.
Exactly.
And it was the assassination, and that's what really sparked it off. Ruling class assassination.
Exactly.
And when they did that, I mean, it didn't affect none of us. Or the people out there scrapping for roots and potatoes.
Yeah.
It was the ruling class, and when the assassination happened within the ruling class, that's what kicked everything off. Mm-hmm. At least with World War I.
Yeah.
And World War II was basically what it was. I mean, it was class and race. It's fear of it all. Hitler went on the march, and trying to exterminate. Hey, and what you see today on a more of a micro of the macro, right here, right. George Floyd next set on, hey man, just the extermination of one entity over another.
Right.
But it's always the ruling class with their hand in on it. For the Gulf War, we know what that is.
Oil.
Exactly.
Yeah. So they're gonna create the dynamic, and that's why I love this film, because we're about to get to this particular point in a few seconds. But you know, the dude asked FDR, who we going to war with? Oh, we're gonna find them. We're gonna find them.
We're gonna create an enemy.
So this out it. So all that's going on now is the same playbook from the past.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So the next point was American communist members helped to spread Stalin's agenda in America, not through physical revolution, but through the Democratic Party. This is how, again, we get tied in 2021 so strongly to the Democratic Party. They referenced the Smith Act, so that's something I gotta reference, because that was a gangster discriminatory act. And the Socialist Workers Party, Malcolm had gotten connected with a few white boys who was from that. And I also got to research the Leon Trotsky, who was one of those communist thinkers, socialist thinkers back in the day, but he obviously fell out of grace. So they killed his ass in Mexico in 1940. So again, they not above killing their own when you ain't riding with the agenda.
That's right. That's right.
Now we get into where the FBI rises to prominence in the 1930s. This is why Judge said what he said about the FBI, because his whole premise was that this came in the 30s and the 40s when he started profiling more of the Black organizations, but they were already doing that way before. So
what did he say, Brother Craig, when you highlight the fact that it may not have been called COINTELPRO, but they've been doing this for a very long time? What did he say to that?
I didn't bring it up. The guys, some of the other guys brought it up.
Oh, okay.
So at that time, I was just, listening and whatnot.
What was his response to that when they brought it up?
He said that's not correct, because the guys telling them it had a longer history. Mm-hmm. And he was just kind of focusing on the Black part. That was basically it.
Okay.
The American plutocrats like Henry Ford did support Hitler. That was brought out in the film. Hitler was given, Henry Ford was given an award. So we do understand that plutocracy is directly connected to racism, white supremacy. So again, this is why I say the philosophy, system, and game of capitalistic white supremacy. It was brought out that J. Edgar Hoover investigated everybody that was capitalism. He didn't give a damn. And workers and leaders, he didn't give a damn. So progression was happening, but Black people were still being oppressed as we are today. So it didn't matter what things were going on, we were being oppressed. Mm-hmm. And also, this is where, after World War II, migration to the West Coast, to these major cities where people can get jobs. Now we get into 1947, where they passed the Taft-Hartley Act, and that whole thing, just like the Supreme Court ruled against sit-in, this legislation now stops strike, picketing, etc. And so I got to research that. But all of this laid the foundation for what? The film discusses it, and the term is the permanent war economy. Mm. So now that's why they got to constantly feed us this steady diet of bullshit.
Right.
And how they do it, propaganda was used as a powerful tool to scare the American public in order to provide funds, governmental funds, for the permanent war economy.
That's right. The military-industrial complex, huh?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now what was getting ready to happen, even though they don't bring this up, this permanent war economy did what in 1948? Went over to Israel and brought these crackers from Germany into Israel to establish what? The state of Israel. You see? So all that was going on, I'm just trying to give some context, because Barack Obama's cousin, which is one of the other reasons he's in the White House. Barack Obama's cousin, Dwight Eisenhower, was the president at that time. He signed legislation to force federal workers to agree to do a federal pledge. And a federal pledge is you ain't gonna speak out against this government and keep the job. Mm-hmm. You're gonna make a pledge. And now we get into Paul Roberson. And I said a true soldier, but he didn't have the support of an organization. The plutocrats and the government destroyed him. But man, he spoke strong.
Yeah.
He just didn't know what was gonna happen to his ass. You know, they just didn't understand, bro. They did.
Yeah, they didn't have a squad. They didn't have no group. They had no team. And it's kind of funny. Did that part of the film black out for you guys as well when James Earl Jones started to talk?
Yeah, blacked out.
Yeah, I was looking down doing some work, and then when I heard his voice, I'm like, damn, Paul Robeson sounds just like James Earl Jones. Is that the Lion King? And then I looked up. I'm like, okay, that is James Earl Jones. What's the name of that movie, by the way? Because I'd like to see that.
I don't know. I have to go back and check that out.
Ken, do you know the name of that movie?
Right on.
Yeah.
But you best believe I'm gonna look at.
Yeah. I'm gonna find that. Okay, I'm sorry.
So now this is where we get the rise of McCarthyism, and this was directly focused on shutting down union leadership and union workers because they didn't want no more holdups. Gotta have their profit. Du Bois was even a target at that point in time. And they said McCarthyism was finally shut down. This philosophy was shut down when he fucked around and went after the army. And so that is that particular point. And then in 1957, the Supreme Court ruled that the Smith Act was unconstitutional, which prevented the strikes and the sit-ins and things like that. And so now, this is where industrial democracy focus was replaced by where we're at now, which is collective bargaining. And that's where basically all of these unions are at now because they're not doing direct action. This labor lawyer, Thomas Joffigan, said that he talked about the union direct action was replaced with mediation and lawsuits. And that's where we're at right now. People just sue and whatnot, but there ain't gonna be no major direct action. But you have seen some of that with teachers unions and whatnot, and we'll discuss that. It says, but with all of these decisions, courts have constantly ruled against labor. Historian Nielsen Littmenstein said courts generated a false equality between labor and capital. And that is definitely true.
A false equality because you believe you're going somewhere because you filed a lawsuit?
Exactly.
Okay.
Because this is the government of?
Corporations, by corporations for corporations.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, but the worker believed that just because they were gonna get their case heard, they were gonna have justice. It's kind of like the Moors believing that they're gonna go to court and indict the United States government.
And really win something, yeah. And that's yeah.
It's a false equality between labor and capital. In 1955, the two major American unions created an umbrella group, the AFL-CIO. So that exists. And then they made it a point to let it be known, because now we get into some good notes, because now we're at the end of the film. In 1981, President Ronald Reagan invoked the Taft-Hartley Act to order striking air traffic controllers back to work. When they refused, 11,000 of them.
11,000. Isn't that something? 11,000. Jesus.
So the Taft-Hartley Act is something that we definitely need to discuss and study. And I love the fact that they brought out, because this is why the immigration thing is going on. The American workers can't figure it out, but the plutocrats know what time it is. Americans must now compete with the poorest.
That's right, of the poor. And you can't compete with the poorest of the poor because they're always going to undermine what they're willing to be paid.
Exactly. Because if you've been making 50 cents for a whole goddamn month, and now you bring something to the United States and you can make 750 or 8, what the fuck what y'all complaining about?
She the promised land, goddammit. It's crazy.
And we're gonna stay 30 deep in a house too? What the fuck y'all talking about?
Yeah, we gonna work it out.
So this is why you let immigrants come in. Hey, bro, this thing is gangster.
Yeah, because the immigrants are the new niggas. Which means, which begs the question, what's the plan for us?
Come on, bro. It better be entrepreneurship, I know that.
Yes, sir.
By 1999, only 35 strikes occurred across the country. By 2001, unionized labor represented only 13.5% of the population. In the early 21st century, Americans took on the dubious distinction of working more hours than any other country. And remember that 60% thing I told you to remember? 60% of the nation now holds virtually no financial assets or holds negative assets and debt. So everything is crumbling. But the main reason that 60% of the nation holds no financial assets is not really because of wages.
Mm-hmm.
To some degree it is, but the real reason is because of consumerism.
Right, because I didn't get that tie-in, because in my head I'm thinking, well, that's because we live above our means.
Exactly.
So I didn't get that tie-in.
They're throwing it out there because if you can't analyze the numbers, you'll fall for it. They just want to associate the workers, anything negative, with the plutocrats. But in this case, that's not totally the case.
Right.
No single county in America where a minimum wage earner can support a family. Well, again, I agree with that for the most part, but a lot of that, even when they're making $10, $12, $15, they still broke. Ken can tell you about people who made good money. Ken is finishing up his divorce now. Bro, Ken, tell somebody where your soon-to-be ex-wife, instead of investing in the business a few years ago, what did they decide to do with $15,000?
Which 15 is that?
Your ex-wife.
Oh.
Where did they go?
Wait a minute. Are you talking about
her and Ayana?
Oh, they went to Spain.
Well, before I laugh too hard, I need to ask, so what's the return on investment on that trip? Because I don't know, maybe it was a righteous trip. Maybe they got something out of it. I don't know. Jesus.
A better sense of who I was yoked with.
Jesus Lord.
Brother Ken started a embroidery business.
That's right.
For his wife, because she said she wanted to start sew. So they were rolling, or should I say he was rolling.
Very lucrative at
But
one point.
but she wouldn't help.
Just stop.
And instead of putting $15,000 in the business, he put $15,000 on a trip to Spain, because the daughter had to go to Spain. What you think about that, Sister Mary? Can Sister Mary hear me?
She should be able to. Maybe she stepped away.
Okay. But needless to say, that's the reality of where we're at. So the next point, today the wealth is 1% of America households own 40% of the country's wealth, while the 3 richest people own more wealth than the entire bottom half of the population combined. Now, we can put this all on the plutocrat, but the goddamn shit is staring you right in the face. Some of you punk ass workers need to form cooperative endeavors and own your own damn corporation.
Yep.
You got the expertise, you got the management deal.
Right.
But why doesn't that happen? Because individualism, I mind me, but I ain't got time for doing all that. I'm getting 150,000.
Right. I'm good. do that for what? I'm good.
What I'm gonna leave that for? And
right.
Guess what? I'm gonna go tell on your punk ass and let it be known that you're trying to undermine the corporation. You see, this is what you're dealing with.
Yeah.
The next point was 485 employees were involved in work stoppages in 2018, the highest number since 1986. And now we get into the last part of the film where the school teachers were leading the most of these strikes. And yet again, like you said, Tamani, when you commented on our Tuesday morning breakfast from this past week, the teachers don't even know how to get their goddamn.
Yeah.
They don't even know how to get their check.
Yeah, it's a lot, man.
So they demanded more wages, but again, you're not going to be able to end up getting more wages because your salaries are paid with property taxes. Benefits, more wages, all at the expense of who? The goddamn children.
That's right. Because they're not getting your pay and your desire to get paid more is why they're not getting educated because the money's going to you.
Exactly. Yeah. But they don't give a fuck because it's like, nigga, we got to get this bread. We need to make more money than LeBron James and Michael Jordan. Even though it's a billion of us versus just 100 of them. I mean, there's no money that you directly generate for your parish or your county.
Right.
You generate money indirectly when people can be sparked to learn and they end up paying to create business. But if they're not sparked to learn to create businesses, then what have you really done?
Right. And what's also said about that, Brother Craig, is that we really don't, we Black people and we people in general, the working poor, if you will, we don't really understand that what we need, what we have to make our lives better lies in what we produce and what we bring to table. That's why I'm always saying everything we need, we already got.
Yeah.
We just don't know it because we don't understand how this thing works. We're not connected. We're not organized, blah, blah, blah.
So now that we end these wonderful videos for the Fight for 15. I don't know how the hell they came up with that, but they fight for 15 minimum wage. And here's the ironic thing. This last week, that shit just got kicked.
Oh, really?
Biden like putting that shit in there.
I didn't know that.
This is government
Corporate.
Corporation. Biden. So all that shit that Biden was talking during the campaign trail, over with, bro. Over with. Over with, bro, tonight.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, all of these people, we gonna rabble around. Now, here's what I thought about when I saw the, and this is my last point. None of these people are thinking about coming together as a collective to launch their own cooperative business venture to compete against the corporation. Now, if you're talking about a car manufacturing company, I can get that.
Right.
But you had people out there picketing and shit, working at goddamn Wendy's and Burger King. Y'all punk asses can take your goddamn end of the year taxes and 100 of y'all can come together and start, everybody at that one location can now take, you say, $2,000 of your damn check at the end of the year and put up $200,000. Y'all got the expertise, y'all got all of this, and y'all can leverage that with somebody else because y'all got money on the table and start your own goddamn franchise.
That's right.
I mean, your own business. There ain't got to be no franchise.
That's right.
but they ain't thinking about it.
Right.
They want the plutocrat to change.
Yeah.
And guess what? The plutocrat ain't
Yeah.
gonna
We're not gonna do it ourselves. We want you to give it to us. Not understanding that if you want it, you really can't have it. But you got to do some work. You got to learn some things.
You gotta do some goddamn work.
Yes, sir.
And that's it. We need to really study fascism, imperialism. There are a couple movies that I did write down. The Cradle Will Rock. I'm gonna check that out. This movie, Guilty by Suspicion, that's with De Niro in it. Mm-hmm. So now you see that there were a lot of movies that talked about these time periods, and we just got to be more aware of this. But like I said, in closing, I got more compassion for our people.
Yeah.
I got to cut them a little slack.
Just a little bit.
A little bit, because again, while most of this shit was going on, our people were building black townships.
Right.
They were maneuvering. So how is it that, you know, everything now is on the government? You know, socialism, communism. Okay, I get it. I see the relationship now in a broader sense. I get it. But again, look at all of the socialistic, communistic countries.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's interesting, Brother Craig, that white supremacy and Jim Crow really saved us from what destroyed the country, because we, like you always say, man, we had no choice but to work together.
Had to, brother.
And then as soon as we had the inkling of an opportunity to mingle with white people, that's when all our shit fell apart.
Exactly.
So you know, as I always say, we absolutely must be separate. Not because we're anti them, that's not our nature, not because we don't want to, you know, go to Walmart or whatever. It's because they have proven to be bad for our health. So we got to have a new way of doing everything. Our system, our economic, everything got to be new or vastly different, because their system is predatory and capitalism won't work unless somebody's getting preyed upon. So we got to have a new way of doing everything across the board. And until we realize that, we're not going to get it.
Period.
Yeah.
If I would take away one concern of it all, it wouldn't even be the infiltration from within. I think we can deal with that if you know, if we keep our focus about our mind. My thing would be defending what you now feel, because of if you're looking at the past, the jealousy that was popped up on the whites that got dealt with during the Depression, or just that jealousy that stands on their shoulders all together. You know, that hatred.
Yeah.
You know, that prejudice. Okay, that's always been tapped in. And you look at the disparity of the country now. You know, them against us. You know, per se. I mean, you got literally half the country sitting there, rah and supporting these yahoos that even rushed in there to kidnap and maim people at the capital of the United States. They got the wherewithal and the gall to run up in there, you know, and do that. You know, hell, you can't get most of us to walk out your front door and just push a button at a voting machine.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But it's sad. But as we mobilize in the BGN, and you got to come to the realization, you're gonna have to start buying you some weapons. If you ain't got them, going to the range, because I mean, the first time you see some nice houses going up and this, that, and the other, somebody ain't gonna like it. Somebody more likely gonna come forward, because we see the crumbling of the economy. We see the disparity. We see the workforce. We just described all of that in part 5. Okay, shit is going to hell in a handbasket, and it's going down. Yeah. You know, we see these companies closing around. You know, so you have to create your own. So now we go out there and do what our ancestors did with Black Wall Street and all the hundreds of black townships. Right. We create this. Now, what's the next thing that we've learned? We've learned they come for this shit. They come for it. Yep. And know, and it don't necessarily have to be, you know, the truth. We ain't worried about them because, hey, as long as they get some kind of tax revenue, maybe, you know, because we're on their land, we got to pay some kind of ground affair to them, some kind of homage to them. They ain't worried about it as long as they get some. But these yahoos, these groups that we see that are marching and rushing up into the Capitol, Proud Boys and all of these cats, these are the ones that are going to be the ones that are going to come after it. And if we just start gaining too much power, even within the political system, start controlling too much ground, they're going to send them in there. They're going to use the Trump method. You know, hey, look what they're doing over there. They're going to find us some way to demonize it. So we're going to have to really come up with a good plan to protect what the hell we got.
Yeah, and it's not if, Ken, it's when and how, because we know history has proven that whenever we've tried to do anything for ourselves, they always come. So it's not a matter of if they're coming, it's when and how. And that's why it's so important that we understand who and what we're up against.
Exactly.
Because they haven't changed their game plan at all. We just hadn't gotten hip to it.
So I'm not leery of the infiltrators. I think we can spot it. I think we really can get a hold of it if we move with enough steadiness and enough focus. You know, we can spot these people. You know, when they come in. Yep. You know, speaking with our spirituality and right culture. But if those outside entities, once we get this brown base built, start put the lumber on this thing, oh God forbid when you get the roof on there, you know. You know they come. They're steadily losing. Their job is steadily folding up and all this, and we build it. They come.
Okay.
Simple as that.
That's real talk.
You know. So all up, you know, I'm confident. I'm real confident. You know, and I'm confident that like I say, we have to figure out a way to defend what the hell and hold our ground. We're gonna have to do that. We're gonna have to do that.
Yeah, amen.
Anything else?
I'm motivated because I see it, but the shit is clear to me. And I am not one to just be satisfied with the answer. I got to go make that answer reality. And if I'm clear on it, then you know it's sure. So I'm excited, Brother Ken, because like Brother Craig alluded to earlier. He either alluded to it or he said it. We are fortunate to live in the time that we're living because they didn't know any better. We can look back on what they did and did not do and say, oh, I see what they got wrong, and not make that mistake. And you know, I am extremely proud to have been an active former member of the Shrine. But Brother Kwame pointed something out to me that shit made me smile for the whole damn day. He said that when the founder of the Shrine got started in 1953, he was 50.
Okay.
I turned 50 in October, and I benefited from everything that he did from 53 to 2000. So I don't have to wonder about so many things. So, brother, when I have begun to say confidently, and I'm probably going to continue to say it, I believe, man, that we are the culmination of all of our movements and leaders, not because we're special, not because we're necessarily smarter, but we have the opportunity to look back and understand what they got wrong, what they got right, so we can fill them goddamn gaps, build upon that success, and keep it moving. And as long as we know, Brother Ken, that it's not a matter of if they're coming, but when and how, and we have prepared ourselves. You touch one of ours, goddamn it, 4 of yours gonna come up missing. We got to play that game, and that's why we got to be connected to the Bumpy Johnsons.
I would like to see it where when you reach out to touch one of ours, you draw back a nub.
Sure.
Be just that more reaction.
Oh yeah, I'm with you.
Because and you think about this. Years ago, we heard about the age of information.
Yep.
That term. You think about it, that's why we're so blessed, brother Kamani, I believe, because we're born at the age of information, and now we have this way to just at a touch of a button to grab any information that we need to be in communication with somebody we don't know.
Brother, the Google, the internet and the Google is a great equalizer. Like brother Craig says, there is no excuse for your ass being ignorant. None.
Just the digital telephone. If I don't know, I can call you. Or you can call my friend. So we can now have meetings like we have now, where we can be in different places around the world and still talk to each other.
That's right.
You know, I mean, the Dick Tracy age, you know, when you used to look at the red spot, you know, we're here. So the information is the key.
Yep.
You know, and assembling it and putting it in the right perspective, that's what's critical. You know, and not leaving any parts of the puzzle out. I hear you use that phrase quite a bit. You use the parts of the puzzle. We can't afford to drop one piece on the ground and say, we'll get to that later. If it's a crucial piece, it needs to be in place before we can get the total picture of what we're looking at.
That's right.
And the way I see it, the only thing that could happen that we don't see now is some freaking aliens just drop in.
That's right.
You know, we got one coming. You know, because everything down here on the earth, we know we got access to that. We got access to that. You know, they've been talking about another layer found within the center of the earth. We even have that information.
Right.
So hey, man, there's nothing we shouldn't be lacking on that we, you know, that can come and catch us, you know, like a panther in the middle of the night. You know, he's so black we can't see it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but we just have to pay attention to it, man, and just, like I say, just be vigilant and reactionary on it. Everything from the cryptocurrency and all that.
All that. That's right.
We're on it because when that comes into full effect, we know what the economy is going to look like. Everybody's dealing on the regular stock market and all that. All that stuff is going to fall, man.
Yes, sir.
Wayside, and it's going to come a whole new way of making money and investing. You know, and the government here is already fighting against it because they can't control it. You know, it's so universal they can't control it. You know, so you know, and like we know, if you don't get on it, it's just gonna be you sitting over there scrapping in a damn trash can for something to eat. You know, it's gonna put everybody into a Great Depression.
Yes, sir.
That's not a part of the nuance of what's really going on. The world is changing.
Yep.
And we have the information to know what those changes are and reference it to the past.
And you know, the other good thing, somebody is being able to have a point person, chairperson that is not caught up in ego and drugs or anything that would put the movement in a vulnerable state.
I agree. Brother Ken is awesome. I agree. He's going to do well in that role for us. I think that's awesome.
But all of us have to be on that square. But it really is good because, hey, bro, they gonna come.
Yes, sir.
And if you end up getting caught up like a Huey P, I mean, this is how they're able to do exactly what they've been able to do. But but we're ready to roll. But
so you have to get rid of all those women, brother.
I got 3 women in my life, 4 women: my mama, my wife, and my 2 daughters. Everybody else is an ambassador of leadership.
Yeah, but a miseducation of Negro, and then this film.
Yeah.
That's what
And I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I am going to go back to the first one and watch it again to take some serious notes, because I need to not only, and although I have the macro understanding, I need to understand the micro. So all those books, all those videos, all those movies that were referenced, I got to understand that. Because it's not enough for the 4 of us to get it. We got to we had to craft a curriculum that everybody has to get it. And if our youth aren't in a position to get it, then you know we're spinning our wheels and we're doing all this for naught, because we got to give it to somebody. And that's why it's so important that we understand how the educational system is changing, because we can start doing this stuff online. Now we can. We must start doing this stuff online.
And as we generate the money, the status materials, and we go through the information, and we get a full, firm grasp on all the information, then we can, do, internet classes, things of that particular nature. But we, our core group, need to become financially solvent, have the structure tight, and have the information tight. That's how we're gonna disseminate it. So it's not appearing to be overwhelming to just regular people, so that they can now brought in. Because what we're doing now is an example of what the Panthers did with their legal training, but we're getting into a broader aspect. So because
you say what the Panthers did when they what? I missed that word.
Their legal training class.
Legal training. Okay.
So that's pretty much what we do.
Yeah. I just didn't hear that word. Okay, I'm with you.
Our film studies, our revolutionary code. So that's there, but we gotta have this thing as simple but as profound and impactful as possible. But it all starts with us, our core group, leveraging the money, status, materialism, and putting the infrastructure in place, having a full understanding of all these things. Because this film and that book, Democracy in America, and this education Negro, what Black organization would have that as their foundational curriculum? Because think about it. You ain't studying shit in the NAACP. You ain't studying shit in the Urban League. They just cool with you donating money. Okay. So that's pretty much where it's at.
Yep.
So, but we get this stuff solidified and structured to the point that we can disseminate it in a real cool way. And if we're now, several of us are making a couple $100 million a year, and we now have a game plan to leverage 10% of that 1.5 trillion that's underneath our umbrella. We can make shit happen in Texas and Louisiana alone. And then we got Mary and Jennifer them on the East Coast. And, we broaden our perspectives a little bit. But, man, you got to be solid as it relates to an expansion plan. And that, has to start here in the South in terms of how we're going to roll and what we're going to do to make this shit happen.
We need to bring something as capturing of Negroes to get part of that, get that 10% or better than the damn Jerry curl. I keep thinking about that. I said that Jerry curl stole a lot of damn money, man.
Yeah. That and other slave cultured purchases.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Specifically that. Do you realize how many Jerry curls people went through, man, and how many states? Judge Johnson took it by surprise.
Yeah. Well, I think is for sure, as we individually and within our own corporations and businesses make money and then parlay dollars into BGN, Lace, and whatnot, what we end up with, we'll be able to parlay money into non-traditional economic spaces like technology and whatnot, where we can bring these punk motherfuckers to the table and get their money by way of cell phones, by way of, different things that's not overtly identified as so-called Black. And because what I've come to understand about people and these goddamn cell phones, the cell phone for a lot of people is like a goddamn toy. You know, it's like they gotta have a new one every goddamn year. I mean, shit is crazy. I mean, I know I don't use mine like that, but I'm starting to explore on it more. But most people are using these phones like it's Christmas present.
I gotta have a new iPhone.
I gotta have a new iPhone.
Yeah.
So we learn once we make our money in our core endeavors, and I know this is where Harlan and Damani and Ken and some of the other tech people that we bring on board, this is where we'll be able to get them to see what's upon the horizon. Also with the whole energy deal, as we do housing concepts, we got the money, bro. We'll be able to now start to make a serious dent on an annual basis to make some things.
Hey, to both of you, I just sent you guys a link via Facebook Messenger. Craig, after this, I want to have a brief conversation with you about that, because that's going to be, I'm envisioning that being the direct tie-in with how we make this whole power program thing real. It's about creating community wealth organizations, and it is a way, and that goes to what you just said, Brother Craig, about people coming together and creating their own, creating co-ops and whatnot, so that the community can benefit from how the community does business. I am thinking from a high level that the power program can be, or needs to be, once we identify where the money is being spent, then we mobilize and organize the people around that data, that reality, and then we say we absolutely must redirect this Black foot traffic, but you can't do that if you don't have competing business. So instead of us saying to Black people, shop Black, and Black don't exist, we got to create the Black. We have to create a grocery store. We got to create a mini mart. We got to create a competing business. You can't continue to shop at the Wendy's because they're not going to treat you right. We don't own and control it. So we got to have a competing Wendy's, and we call it whatever. And everything we need to do that we have, but we want to make it so that the people benefit from the money that they're already spending in a new establishment. And that's what that community wealth thing. So when you guys get a chance, I need you to check that out, because I am making that a direct, not necessarily end result, but a big part of the power program to show Black people how we can win and how you can benefit from that winning. That's why you got to roll with us, because ain't nobody doing what we're doing in the way that we're doing it. Yeah.
And that's copacetic. We just to fill a lot of those spaces. You gotta have a lot of people with stepping to the table with resources.
Yeah. And the beauty of it is that we don't need a bunch of people. We only need the right people that's like Brother Ken is saying, understanding that the economic financial system of the world is changing. All we need is a few people to understand that, pool some resources, and then set up the necessary economic entities, because the Negro is going to buy his cigarettes regardless. He's going to buy his beer regardless. He's going to buy his M&Ms regardless. So we give him no choice but to support the revolution. Why? Because we own every goddamn thing where you live. So you might want to be a nigga, but we're going to get our money from you because we control your nigga space, so to speak.
But the one thing, and I'll leave you with this, I want you to think about it, and because I go get the car and come back here and get ready to shower to go to the funeral. I want you to think about what I said. The only real disposable income that Negroes have in mass on an annual basis is regular grassroots Negroes and grassroots Black people and some grassroots hybrid, and of course the savage Negroes, is around tax time.
Okay.
So think about that in concert with what you're talking about. You want me and Ken to look at, because we got to be realistic in how we pursue mobilizing people who would become a part of a co-op, because that's when they're gonna have money.
Right.
So we're talking February, right now we're talking January, February, March of 2022.
Mm-hmm.
So we got a few months as relates to the power deal, and now you are mobilizing the folks in Houston to start to say, okay, what are your annual taxes looking like? And so we gotta have this discussion with, about 10,000 people to really make this thing doable.
Yep.
And you get about 5,000 of them to say, you know what, I'm reading 5,000 on average. See, this is where the poor people and the middle of the road cats who bringing in $4,000, $5,000 to $10,000 a year in taxes can now be directed to take 2,000-3,000 of those dollars and now say, boom, 500 to 1,000. We're now putting this together, and this is going to be the co-op grocery store.
Right.
I mean, co-op store.
Right.
In this particular area.
That's right.
Because that's going to be the only time they're going to have lump sum money.
Sure.
And we got to be able to redirect, get them to understanding that they got resources, but we got them to redirect the seed money that's going to be needed to then leverage, another amount of money where you can now say, okay, now with this co-op group, we now got 3 or 4 or 5 businesses that's now spinning off of this. And now it's not about, it's truly about individuals sharing in profitability that they get from the community.
Yep.
And now they're able to reinvest those dollars in the community, because now the board of directors is really not about trying to make millions of dollars as an individual, but the board of directors is made up of those individuals who put up 2,000 whatever dollars.
Dig it.
And now their money is based on the profitability of these corporate entities. Now you can start to rock and roll, but that's going to start from their tax revenues, because the grassroots Negro, the grassroots Black, and the savage Negro that we got to deal with, that's going to be their only major money that they get on an annual basis.
Yeah, I can dig that. I have no problems. I have no problem. That makes perfect sense to me. Okay, so I'm going to assume that no one has a question or comment. So we're going to close it out. As always, thank you guys for being a part. I sincerely appreciate it. Always remember 2 things. No one can do everything, but if everyone does something, everything will get done. And absolutely, always remember that nothing is more sacred than the liberation and salvation of Black people. Y'all have a good day. God bless. Talk to y'all soon.
Okay, bro.
Peace.